So this probably looks weird right here. This is my actual screen that I use to record with. So you'll have like this infinity thing. It's like video feedback. There's something that's been going around the internet, and I'm not going to say who posted it because multiple people are posting this. It keeps going around, then it disappears, and it comes around again. But I wanted to comment on this because it kind of drives me nuts. So this is my desktop. I cleaned it. Yes. I can actually read some of this stuff. This was full. I got so many different things going on. But let me open this real quick and then pause it for a second.
So shame on you.
And then I got to turn her down. So this lady, I don't know who she's talking to. It's like one of those things where you can go and talk to your townspeople or congress people. I'm not quite sure. This lady is going to go there, and this is called What It Means to Be Poor in America. And I'm going to make sure I tag Josh in this because Josh said he was homeless at one point, and he's like way up there now as far as you want to call possessions or money or whatever you want to call it, okay? We grew up a specific way as well. My wife grew up in a one-bedroom apartment with like 10 people and dogs and cats. And I grew up with my mom and sister. And I won't say I was homeless. I've always had a place to lay my head. If I didn't, it was by my own choice. All right. So this lady's about to say some things I'm going to comment on in a second. And she's trying to tell what she's going to do is she's trying to explain to these dudes that their concept of reality is kind of wrong and how Americans have to work hard for what they have and how minimum wage isn't really enough and stuff. So let's get into this.
Shame on you, and shame on me, and shame on each and every one of us who haven't rattled the windows of these buildings with cries of outrage at a government that thinks their office furniture is worthy of $40,000 a year and families and children aren't. The current poverty guidelines are ridiculously out of touch. I have 2 jobs and a bachelor's degree, and I struggle to make ends meet. The federal poverty guidelines say that I'm not poor, but I cashed in a jar full of change the other night so my daughter could attend a high school band competition with her bands. I can't go grocery shopping without a calculator. I had to decide which bills not to pay to be here in this room today. Believe me, I pulled myself.
So we used to do that too. We'd figure out which bills are we going to skip out on and which ones we're going to pay. We pay the important ones. And then she said her daughter had a high school band competition. Band is expensive. We did it, not me and my wife. We volunteered, and the kids did it. 2 of the kids did it. They're twins, so they were there at the same time. That's twice as much money. There are ways. Now, I don't know where this lady lives.
I can't go grocery shopping without a calculator. I had to decide which bills not to pay to be here in this room today. Believe me, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps so many damn times that I've ripped them off. Good morning. My name is Amy Jo Hutchison. I'm a single mom of 2 who's lived in West Virginia all my life.
Let me point something out. The first thing she says to point this out. She's a single mom. Okay? That's a problem right there. If you look at the family unit, if you have a mom and a dad and kids, it works the way it should. Now, I don't know this lady's situation. I don't know if her husband died or if he cheated on her, or if he left her. I don't know. I do know if you're a single parent, you're going to have trouble. And this is a lot of problems with the fallen world, that you can make fun of God all you want. That's on you. But he puts these things together for a reason, to have the family unit as a unit. The man and the woman. Not man and man, not woman and woman. The man and the woman. And they get together and they have kids, and they raise their kids biblically, and they have a biblical lifestyle, and it holds together. That's a huge problem today. That's a lot of the problem.
Today I'm here to help you better understand poverty, because poverty is my lived experience. And I'm also here to acknowledge the biased beliefs that poor people are lazy and the poverty is their fault.
Okay, So she says, I'm here to change your mind, or whatever she said about poverty is people who are lazy and then it's their fault. I will say it is your fault. It is your fault. If you say it's not, you're playing the victim and you're playing the blame game and you're blaming rich people for your poorness. That is not correct, okay? And I'm going to tag Josh in this. He will tell you the exact same thing. It's up to you. A lot of people are going to say, you've had these opportunities handed to you. It's up to you to not only recognize the opportunity, but to make opportunity. Get your butt out there and make an opportunity. Yes, we've been at the bottom. I know exactly what this lady's saying. So because of that, we have a house. To keep the house we currently live in, Rona, that I need to make $10 an hour at 40 hours a week, okay? That's to keep the house. That's no electricity, no food, no water, no nothing. But it would be a place to lay our heads. A place to lay your head is very special. Me and my wife, we've been together 30 plus years. We talk about this quite often, about what happens if we lose everything. We always have a plan. What happens if we lose everything? And I know it's not a thing other people think of, but because we came from a place like that, we think about that, and we need to stick together as a unit and not, prepare ourselves just in case something happens. I'm not going to be like, I told you so, or, playing blame games and fighting. We're prepared. Okay, we're not prepared like the rest of America where we have 6 months worth of savings. No, we still live paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. But we try and make sure that we're not living beyond our means. And we do here and there because, if you get time for overtime or whatever, we try not to spend frivolously. My wife's very good. If I say, oh, she's very good at spending the money, she is, but she's very thrifty with the money. But a lot of people live beyond their means. So let's continue with this lady. I know I'm going to talk a lot during this video.
But how do I make you understand things like working full-time for $10 an hour?
Working full-time for $10 an hour, and she lives in West Virginia. I should actually look up the median income and what is housing there, because we can afford this on $10 an hour. That's nothing else. I understand that. But 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, we keep the house. So anything extra that I could do as far as like having my wife go to work, which she does now, she didn't until the kids graduated high school. I was the only person working in the family until that time. And you just don't live beyond your means. And by doing what she's doing, she's playing the blame game. $10 an hour is actually pretty good. Now, of course, that depends on where you live at. If you live in LA, you can't afford to live on $10 an hour. Move. If you look at LA and the tent cities, 1/3 of them are mentally unstable, like retarded people. They have nowhere to go because they get caught in this loop, and I really feel bad for these people. They get caught in these loop where they do something and the cops pick them up. They go to court. They can't do anything with them, and there's not enough mental institutions to keep them. Something like that. There's some weird loop that they're stuck in. Okay, I got it. That's 1/3. Another 1/3 are on drugs. That is their fault. It's your fault if you're on drugs. How do I know? I've been there. You want to talk about that? We'll talk about that in another video. I could talk about that all day long, all right? The other 1/3 I don't know if they necessarily want to be there, but they don't mind being there. It's almost like as if they're off grid. Most of the people somewhat choose to be there, and they don't mind. We talk all the time about this. If that was us in that situation, we're going to pick up that tent. At least we would have a tent, and we would start walking. Where would we go? East. If I was in California, start going east. The United States is huge. Everybody lives on the ends. It's huge. There's so much stuff in the middle. There, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the people in California blame the Mexicans for stealing their jobs. And it's like, you look at the jobs the Mexicans are doing, they're doing stuff you don't want to do. I'm telling you, you don't want to be out on them farms picking lettuce and picking broccoli. And they do it by hand. And on in all the fruit fields and whatever. You don't want to be out there doing that and doing all the restrooms of all the restaurants and whatever. If you have to do that, you have to do that. I personally, if I have a choice, I don't want to do that. If I have to do it, I'll do it. If I don't have to do it, I won't. They have all the jobs that people don't want to do. I'm telling you.
Hour is only about $19,000 a year, even though it's well above the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. I want to tell you about a single mom I met who was working at a gas station.
She just mentions another single mom. This is the problem.
She was promoted to manager, and within 30 days, she had to report her new income to DHHR.
I don't know what that is. I'm guessing that's some type of government assistance. I really don't know what that means.
Within 60 days, her rent bumped from $475 to $950 a month.
Move. This is what I told my wife. Okay, look, if we end up in that situation, as long as we can keep a car, that's it. Work in food service, okay? Because you can live in your car. You can live in the work parking lot. You can clean up in the restroom before your shift. And if you work in food service somewhere like McDonald's, which a lot of people bag on, you can eat all day. So you're not, eating steak all day, but you're not going to starve to death. You will not starve to death. So there's always ways out of this. Always. If her rent, that's like, she's talking about like double. Move. Figure something out. You can't just be like, well, my rent just doubled. What are you going to do? Get the heck out. Find a room to rent. She says she's a single mom, the other that she's talking about, but there's always ways around things.
She lost her SNAP benefits and her family's health insurance, so she did what poor people are forced to do all the time. She resigned her promotion and went back to working part-time just so she and her family could survive. Another single mom I know.
If she would have toughed it out as manager, then you'd move up. If you go to McDonald's has such a high turnover because it's mostly a teenager job or entry-level job. All you have to do is stay there and you move up really fast. Really fast. You get into management. They take your benefits away. Figure it out. Ask somebody if you can stay in their garage. I don't care. There's ways around things. And then I think she just said, where am I at? 142. Let's back up a few seconds here.
She and her family could survive. Another single mom I know.
Another single mom I know. Another one. What's going on here? Where are the dads? Where are they? Most people be like, we don't need a man in my life. But something happened here. She's talking about her and some other two ladies, all single parents. Figure that out. You need to figure that one out.
Encouraged her kids to get jobs. For her DHR review, she had to claim their income as well.
That doesn't make sense. She's talking about the other ladies' kids, okay, and how to claim their income. If they're minors, do you really? You don't count that toward your household income, do you, if they're minors? I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know their situation. I don't understand taxes all that well. That's why I got married. My wife does all that stuff. She's the smart one. But it's like, I don't understand what she's saying.
She lost her SNAP benefits and her insurance, so she weaned herself off of her blood pressure medicines because she, working full-time in a bank and part-time at a shop on the weekends, couldn't afford to buy them. Eventually, the girls quit their jobs because their part-time fast food income was literally killing their mother.
That doesn't make sense. She said girls, plural. So if you have at least two and they're making $7.50 an hour, and she said fast food jobs, now I don't know if that's 40 hours a week, all right? That's probably some type of part-time, anywhere between 20 and 30, I'm guessing, because what is it? After 32, you're going to be required to be, that's considered full-time. But she did say plural, and if they're making at least 20 hours a week each, that's like a 40-hour-a-week job at minimum wage. They have enough to support themselves. I'm telling you.
You see, the thing is, children aren't going to escape poverty as long as they're relying on a head household. Who's poor.
That's not true either. All this right here, the children, what'd she say? I want to make sure I get it right. Let's back it up to 2 minutes.
Income was literally killing their mother. You see, the thing is, children aren't going to escape
poverty
as long
as they're relying on
a
head of household who is poor. That is not true at all. This is a better excuse to pull yourself up. Your kids they shouldn't look at you, why are we poor? I'm always going to be poor because my parents are poor. I've never been given anything in life. No, kids have a huge advantage, especially if they're in a school. They have resources there. Libraries are free. I can't say everybody has the internet, because if you're poor, you probably shouldn't have the internet at home. You can't afford it. But you can't play this blame game. Kids have a total advantage. And I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about, like teenagers or whatever. They need to start investing in their future and studying real hard and get a college, what do you call it? Scholarship. Get a scholarship. Study hard and get a scholarship. And I'm telling you, there's things to do, people.
Who's poor. Poverty rolls off the backs of parents and right onto the shoulders of our children.
That is not true. That is not true. So I will say this, okay? Let's say you had a line of people, okay? And this is a starting line. And different people, let's say the finish line is more toward the camera up here. And people are all starting in different positions. I understand that. These are the rich kids. They're closer to the finish line, right? You're all the way at the back. I get it. Everyone's at a different starting spot. The finish line is the same. They seem like they have an advantage, and you're looking at them, blaming them for being up there. You need to be looking at the finish line, at the goal, and get yourself there. Don't pay attention to them. And more than likely, these rich kids are going to get in trouble, and you're going to pass them. They're going to get involved in drugs and stuff because they have the money, and they're going to be crashing cars and whatever. Their insurance is going to go higher. But, they get to go on vacations and stuff. They get more cultured. So what? Focus on the goal, not the other people. That's the problem. Everyone has a different... I understand that. But you have the same advantage. That's what's good about the United States and how the capitalism thing works. You have the same exact opportunity as they do. Even though it looks like you don't, you do. It's up to you.
Despite how hard we try. I can tell you about my own with food insecurity. The nights I went to bed hungry so my kids could have
seconds. Look how fat this lady is. You ain't going to bed hungry, lady. I can tell you that. And I'll bet if you did studies on people who are on food stamps and stuff, I guarantee they spend it mostly on garbage, junk food. I guarantee it.
Seconds, and I was employed full-time as a Head Start teacher.
Now, I don't know what Head Start is, but you were employed full-time. Something's wrong in this lady's household, okay? She's fat, so she obviously eats too much. Now, you need a place to live. I personally like electricity, okay? Where we currently live we're from LA, but we currently live here, so LA is different. There's not a lot of free Wi-Fi. Here there is. If you can get a hold of a phone that nobody uses, you do not need phone service. You can go to Starbucks or McDonald's or something and sit outside and get on their free Wi-Fi, look for work, look for free things on the internet, whether it be Marketplace or Craigslist. If it was me, I would get as much free stuff as I could and try and sell it. I don't care. I don't care if I got this thing from you for free and I sell it for $1. I'm $1 ahead of where I just started. Okay, that's 100% profit. There's always ways around things. You have to think. So they're living beyond their means somehow. I just want to know, do these people have cell phones? Do they have internet? Do they have TV? Now you can still have TV if you have I call it the government box with the rabbit ears now. But if you have any type of cable or internet or anything like that, that's beyond your means. You have to learn to be a miser. I'm telling you.
I can tell you about being above the poverty guideline, nursing my gallbladder with essential oils and prayer, chewing on cloves and eating ibuprofen like they're Tic Tacs because I don't have health insurance and I can't afford a dentist.
That I understand. I'm not for socialism in any way. I think it's wrong. I do think that what do you call it? Like the medical stuff in America, there does need to be something done about that. It is kind of out of hand. I don't know what to do. I'm against socialism because then people like me who are working are going to see all the people that aren't working getting the same as I am, and I'm going to quit working because what's the point? But for the medical side, there needs to be something done. It's like out of control. It's kind of like what she's going to say about these dudes about, kind of like you're on an airplane, it's got a gold toilet, and the toilet costs $100,000 and all you do is poop in a gold toilet. It's the same type of thinking. It's like, why is that cost that much when a regular one's just fine? You can poop in a regular, $200 toilet. It's the same.
The poverty line for a family of 3 is $21,720. Where I live, because of the oil and gas boom, a 3-bedroom home rents for $1,200 a month.
So there's an oil and a gas boom? Go find a job there. Figure it out. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's sweeping the driveway, the trucks that have to roll in. There's something to do. And obviously you live in a boom town. That's awesome. That's where you want to be. You want to be where the work is.
So if I made $22,000...
What kind of bedroom was that?
$20. Where I live, because of the oil and gas boom, a 3-bedroom...
A 3-bedroom home
rents for
$1,200 a month. That's about the going rate. That's pretty cheap compared to the rest of the United States. I'm telling you. That's you don't need a 3-bedroom home, lady. You can all live in one room. I've been there.
$1,200 a month. So if I made $22,000 a year, which could disqualify me from assistance, I would have $8,000 left to raise 2 children and myself on. And yet the poverty guidelines wouldn't classify me as...
This is really deceiving the way she's doing the math. She's right about the numbers. Like her math is on. It's not that her math is off. Why does she need a 3-bedroom home?
poor.
That don't make no sense. That doesn't make any sense. You don't need a 3-bedroom home as much as you would like it. You don't need that. That's what I'm talking about. It's needs versus wants. You have to prioritize. What are your needs? Food, clothes, shelter. That's it. The rest is extra.
I Googled Congressman's salary the other day, and according to Senate.gov, the salary for senators, representatives, and delegates is $174,000 a year. So a year of work for you is the equivalent of almost 4 years of work for me, and I'm $24,000 above the federal poverty guidelines definition of poor. It would take 9 people working full-time for a year at $10 an hour to match y'all's salary. I also read that each senator is authorized $40,000 for state office furniture and furnishings, and this amount is increased each year to reflect inflation.
If what she said about their salaries and their furniture allocation is true, I get that. I think they probably should make less, or in times of crisis forfeit some of their stuff. I really don't know what it takes to get there. Like, were they lawyers first or judges? I don't understand. But to me, at the same time, they worked toward that to get there. So, do they deserve it? Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to research all that, and I'm not going to. But maybe they've gotten to a point where they earned it, and you're just mad at them for making a lot of money. I don't understand. And like the $40,000 for furniture, I don't know where that goes. You know, she's making it seem like that's one office, like a desk and a chair. I don't know what does that really cover? She's not being very specific. She's written this in such a way to sway certain people a certain way without giving you all the facts.
That $40,000 a year for furniture is $360 more than the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 7.
That's above the poverty guidelines for a family of 7. If you're having that many kids, you've got, children are a blessing. You should not have a family of 7 if you can't afford it. Don't have sex. If you're going to have sex, you're going to get pregnant, period. That's it. Well, that's funny. But you don't do that. Why would you have a family of 7 and be poor? You would figure that out and be like, well, we're not going to do that.
And yet here I am, begging you on behalf of the 15 million children living in poverty in the United States, on behalf of the 1 in 3 kids under the age of 5, and nearly 100,000 children in my state of West Virginia living in poverty, to not change anything about these federal poverty guidelines until you can make them relevant and reflect what poverty really looks like today. You have a $40,000 furniture allotment. West Virginia has a median income of $43,000 and some change.
I think that's pretty good. A median income, I don't know where that is compared to other states. I haven't done research on this. If I'm making $43,000 a year, that's awesome. That's great. I think that's awesome. Now, I don't know. She said median, so I don't know if that means, people like her at the bottom, 43 is in the middle, and 80 is the top. I'm assuming that's what that means. I really don't know. But if you're making that, so to figure this out per hour, you divide by 2 and divide by 1,000. So that's $21.50 an hour. That's great. And you don't need a $1,200 3-bedroom home rent, which is actually great for rent. Go find somewhere else. In our neighborhood, rent is a little bit more than that. Most of these are 3 and 4 bedroom homes where we live. We pay less than that for mortgage. You pay more for rent here. It's the opposite in LA, where you pay a lot more for everything. But where we live, it's cheaper to buy the house and own the house than to rent. I don't know if that's what it's like in West Virginia. Maybe this lady should look at that. You don't need money to buy a house. It's zero down. It's all based on credit score. There's so many ways and different tricks and loopholes. You can if you learn the stuff, you can do it.
People are working full time and are hungry. Kids are about to be kicked off the free and reduced lunch rolls because of changes y'all want to make to SNAP. Even though 62% of West Virginia SNAP recipients are families with children, the very same children who cannot take a part-time job because their parents will die without insurance. People are working full-time in this country for very little money. They're not poor enough to get help. They don't make enough to get by. They're working while they're rationing their insulin, and they're skipping their meds because they can't afford food and health care at the same time. So shame on you. Shame on you, and shame on me, and shame on each and every one of us who haven't rattled the windows of these buildings with cries of outrage at a government that thinks their office furniture is worthy of $40,000 a year and families and children aren't. I'm not asking you to apologize for your privilege, but I'm asking you to see past it. There are 46 million Americans living in poverty.
Okay. Now I don't know about all that other stuff she said. She's saying it in such a way to sway these people. She's really smart at how she wrote this. And if she's this smart, she should figure out her life. She said there's 46 million
doing
Americans.
The best they know how with what they have.
What'd she say? 46 million Americans.
46 million Americans
living in poverty. Okay. By what standard? Now, okay. This thing is called What It Means to Be Poor in America. So I'm going to assume you're only comparing yourself to other Americans. However, if we go on the world stage, okay, the poorest people in America, the homeless people, okay, they're richer than, I forget what the percentage is, more rich than so many other countries. Have you guys ever seen India or Venezuela and seen like how they live? India has places like, and I'm sure it's not just India, there's a lot of places like that, like Africa and stuff. You know those tin things that you usually put like on top of like a chicken coop, the little lasagna looking thing, except it's metal? Put those together like a deck of cards, how you'd make a card house, and have a dirt floor. That's how those people live. And all they do is get up and go out every day looking for food. Their job is to look for food. That's it. This lady has no clue. Look how fat she is. She has no clue what it's really, really like. And you don't understand stuff like that until you travel. Now, I understand it costs money to travel, but if you can do some research on that and go look at some of these places, whether it be in books or on the internet, if you can, and see, you can get access to the internet library. I don't know if that costs money, but if you can get hold of a phone that somebody doesn't want anymore, because people turn them in all the time for like nothing at like Best Buy and drop them in the thing for like $5, stand there. And when somebody goes to turn it in and say, hey, I don't have any money, but you're about to throw away that phone. Can I have it? And you go get on free Wi-Fi. You could look all this stuff up for free. And you see how those people are living. You will be so grateful and thankful for what you have been given. You really don't know what poverty is. Really, you don't.
Poverty, doing the best they know how with what they have, and we, in defense of children and families, cannot accept anything less from our very own government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you.
I think we just heard why this hearing is important.
Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. There's always a way to do stuff. And it does suck when you have to suffer in that way. And it seems that way when you're there. You're working and you're working. You're not getting anywhere. You got to keep going. You have to keep going. And you don't put that burden on your kids. We explained to our kids when they were little. We would go to Toys R Us when they were still around. Oh. And they didn't know how to count. They didn't know how to count or read yet. They were really little, but we would walk around and I couldn't afford the toys that they really wanted. And they would go, Dad, is that too much money? They knew how to ask that. They could see the numbers. They didn't know what the numbers meant, the prices. And they'd say, is that too much money? I'd say, that's too many numbers. Find something with less numbers. And so, I would get them like a Hot Wheels car every time. They're $1. They're 99 cents. So I was able to almost always get them a Hot Wheels car or something, small like that. So I understand those are extras, but you don't let your kids know what your finances are either, ever. Now, our kids are older, and we'll talk about certain things sometimes with them because they're mature enough. But when they're younger, you don't do that. You don't put that burden on them. Kids should be kids. But once they reach a certain age, that's when you should say, hey, it's time to start thinking about your future. And from the time they're little, you always encourage them to study hard, and get a good degree. This lady said she had a bachelor's degree, but she didn't say in what. What does she have a bachelor's in? I mean, is it basket weaving? You're not going to get a job with that, Go to a trade school, There's so many ways around it. And you never, ever see those opportunities like that of how to get out of these situations if you play the blame game. And our government needs to do this, and you need to do that, and you're rich, and that's not fair, and you cannot do that. I'm telling you. Once you're in that situation, if it gets really bad, you will figure it out, and you'll be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and do this. Some things might not work out. Well, I'm going to try this. There's always things. And I'm not saying you're going to be rich. We're not rich either, but we own a house now. That's We would have never, we planned on our lives to never own a house. We planned that out, that we said we'll never be able to own a house. Okay, we've accepted that. We have one. Things work that way. There's always ways around things. You just got to look for those opportunities, and you have to make opportunities, and you have to figure it out and try different things. So I hope I made my point. If you disagree with this, you disagree with it. If you agree with her, you agree with her. That's fine. But I'm just trying to tell you where we've been, where other people have been, and you talk to different people, and they've always done something to not be in a situation. Most people's situations are caused by themselves, and they play the blame game and say, well, I'm poor because of this, because of you doing this, because of this that happened in my life. No, it's up to you to make your own choices and take the steps to get to where you need to be and go toward the goal.